We are sold a story that our home is our greatest asset, an investment that will generate us substantial wealth. We believe in this so strongly, even with home ownership rates declining in the face of so many government programs that are designed to boost home ownership in the UK. But here's the shocking truth that they don't want you to know. You see, over the last 2 decades, the average UK home has actually generated a negative real return. Once you strip out inflation, it's a real term loss of nearly 3% a year. And so we have to ask ourselves the question, if property ownership is declining and the numbers for the return on investment show a loss, then why is the need to own a home still so deeply baked in the British psyche? In order to understand this, we have to go back to the 1980s and a certain prime minister who launched a property owning crusade. Margaret Thatcher's government did not just want to create policy, they wanted to create a property owning democracy. You see, their goal was to, as they said, enfranchise the many in the economic life of the nation. So their right to buy scheme was the key that allowed council tenants to purchase their homes at a massive discount. And it worked because between 1980 and 1990, home ownership in the UK surged from 55% to 67% of all households. And as house prices almost trebled in that same decade, an entire generation saw their homes transformed into what they believed was a wealth-generating machine. The mortgage was successfully rebranded from what people saw as a millstone around one's neck to a valuable long-term investment. And ever since, this has been the playbook. Successive leaders understood that a nation of homeowners is a nation of voters who need property values to always go up. Tony Blair's government spoke of making homeowners better off as a core goal. David Cameron launched a national crusade in order to turn Generation Rent into Generation Buy. And his Chancellor George Osborne famously pushed the Help to Buy scheme, reportedly saying, "Hopefully we will get a housing boom, and do pay attention to the next bit. Everyone will be happy as property values go up." But it wasn't just the politicians. The media amplified this narrative and cemented it into the public consciousness. The concept of the property ladder became a ubiquitous metaphor for financial progression. Television shows like Property Ladder on Channel 4, which ran from 2001 to 2009, played a crucial role by reframing the house from a home to an asset class that was to be flipped for financial gain. This cultural shift helped to normalize the view of residential property as a speculative tool. Now, the result is a powerful feedback loop where political ambition and cultural belief have fused together to create one unshakable idea that your house is your ticket to wealth. But now that we know why we believe this, let's see if the numbers actually back this up. Okay, before we go ahead and start burying our head in the figures, we have to get one thing straight. We have to agree on the definition of an investment. But not like a textbook. Let's talk about the real definition, the one that investors actually use. You see, a true financial investment isn't just something that might go up in value. A real asset has a specific job description and it has to tick 4 boxes. First, and this is the most important one, it pays you to own it. A true asset puts money into your pocket on a regular basis through things like dividends from a stock or rental income. It generates positive cash flow. Second, it works for the economy. An investment isn't just a static object, it's a productive asset that contributes to economic output. Think of shares in a company, that capital helps it grow, to innovate, and to create value. It's an active piece of the system. Now, third is you can dump it fast. A good investment is liquid. That means that you can sell it and convert it to cash quickly and cheaply, often at the click of a button. And finally, rule number 4, its only job is to make money. Its sole purpose is financial return. You don't live inside your stock portfolio, do you? You don't use your bonds to shelter you from the rain. Keep these 4 rules in your head because now we're going to put the great British house ownership dream to the test. Now, first and most importantly, does your home pay you? Let's be real, it's a cash furnace. It's not just the thousands in mortgage interest vanishing into the bank's pocket. It's the relentless drain of annual liabilities. And the silent killer is maintenance. Financial advisors use the 1% rule, although some advocate for higher rules, sometimes up to 5%, meaning that you should budget 1% of your home's value every year just to stop it from falling apart. For the average UK home with an average price of £269,000, that's another almost £2,700 just gone. And when you add it all up, the numbers are staggering. You have the average council tax for a Band B home is about £2,207 a year. Your average buildings and content insurance in the UK is about £265 a year. Your average energy and water bill is about £2,400 a year. Maintenance for the average UK home, if you use the 1% rule, is about £2,690 a year. Now, if you add these all up, the owner of an average UK home faces a total annual liability of just about £7,500 a year, or approximately £631 a month. And remember, this is after your mortgage payments, so it has a deeply negative cash flow. Test number 1 failed. Okay. I can hear you almost screaming at the screen. But Mide, house prices always go up. That's where the real money is. And you're right, because the headline numbers look incredible. Since 1975, the average UK house price has gone up nearly 25 times. A phenomenal return, right? Wrong. That's the illusion. The number that they don't really want you to see is inflation, because when you adjust that figure for inflation, that growth shrinks dramatically. Let's look at the last 20 years from 2005 to today. The data is absolutely shocking. The average nominal growth of UK house prices has been 2.78% per year. But the average inflation over that same period was 2.95%. Let that sink in, because for the last 2 decades, the value of your house hasn't even beaten inflation. The real inflation adjusted return has been negative at minus 0.17%. But wait a minute, that's before we actually account for the over £7,500 a year it costs you to own the house. And so when you subtract this cost, which equates to about 2.82% annual liability rate, your true net return on the average UK home has been a loss of nearly 3% a year. So test number 2 failed spectacularly. Now, rule number 3, you can dump it fast. You can sell £100,000 of a global stock fund with a click, and the cash is in your bank in a couple of days. Now, try doing that with your house. It's not a liquid asset, it's a financial prison. You are shackled by estate agent fees of around 1.4% and legal fees of just over £1,000, which are non-recoverable, and they reduce your final payout. That's thousands of pounds in dead money just to get your capital out of your house. And that's even if you can sell it, because the average UK house takes months to sell, maybe even years if your chain collapses. It's slow, expensive, and it's one of the most illiquid things that you can possibly own. So test number 3 also failed. And finally, we come to the last rule of an investment. Its only job is to make money. Its sole purpose is financial return. You don't live inside your stock portfolio. You don't use your bonds to shelter you from the rain. But a house's primary function is to provide shelter. It's a consumption good like a car or a boat. You have to spend money on it to make it usable. You have to pay to heat it. You have to pay to light it. You have to pay to maintain it. The real job of your home is to serve a purpose in your life, not to generate a financial return. It's a shelter, not an investment strategy. When something has personal utility, you tend to make emotionally driven decisions about it, not logical financial ones. So, test number 4 failed. Now, does this mean that buying a house is a stupid decision? Absolutely not. And this is the most important part of the entire video, guys. You see, a home provides you stability, security. It provides a place to raise your family. These things are priceless. But here is the dangerous mistake that too many people make, confusing a good life decision with a good financial investment. They are not the same thing at all. And thinking this is why you might have a £500,000 house but an empty ISA. You're playing the wrong game. The real playbook, the one that the wealthy, the 1% understand, is to change your mindset. The so-called property ladder is a misleading metaphor. A more accurate one is a treadmill of consumption, where you have to pour continuous financial energy into it just to maintain its value. And so guys, the strategy is this. Treat your house as the largest purchase that you will ever make, not the largest investment. It is a lifestyle choice that provides the utility of shelter, so budget for it as a high-cost utility, and then take your real investment capital, the money that you need to actually grow and compound, and put it to work in real assets that follow the investment rules. If you think that this video has provided any value to you, please hit the like button as it helps me know what type of videos to create for you. And subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Bye.